नमस्ते सबैजनालाई म कल्पना सत्याल नेपाली अमेरिकन कम्युनिटी सेन्टरको हेल्थ एन्ड वेलनेस प्रोग्रामको कोअर्डिनेटर। आज हामीले अलि फरक प्रोग्राम लिएर आएका छौँ। अप्रिल स्ट्रेस अवेरनेस मन्थ हो र त्यसको लागि हुन त हामीले पहिला नै एउटा कार्यक्रम साइकाट्रिस्ट, मेडिकल डक्टर र स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर एलपी भानु शर्मा गुरुसँग गरिसकेका छौँ। तर आजको फोकस अलि फरक हुनेछ। आज हामीले हाम्रो नयाँ जेनेरेसनको, नयाँ पुस्ताको युथहरूलाई दिमागमा राखेर सम्झेर उहाँहरूको दृष्टिकोणबाट स्ट्रेस भनेको के हो त र स्ट्रेसका कारण के हुन् र समाधानहरू के हुन् उहाँहरूसँग चर्चा गरेर हजुरहरूसँग सेयर गर्न जाँदैछौँ। सर्वप्रथम त म आजकी चिफ गेस्ट भारती देवकोटा लाइसेन्स काउन्सिलर उहाँलाई थ्याङ्क यू भन्न चाहन्छु र स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु। अनि त्यसपछि यहाँ उपस्थित जुममा उपस्थित हाम्रा मोडरेटरहरू डाक्टर मनस्वी सङ्ग्रौला, क्षितिज न्यौपाने मोडरेटरहरू उहाँहरूलाई स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु र थ्याङ्क यू भन्न चाहन्छु आफ्नो टाइम निकालेर आजको कार्यक्रममा पार्टिसिपेट हुनुभएकोमा। र हाम्रा प्यानलिस्टहरू हुनुहुन्छ सौगात पराजुली, सुप्रभा ढुङ्गाना, कविता सुवेदी, आयुषा खनाल। म उहाँहरूलाई पनि स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु र धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु। अनि म धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु हाम्रो टेक्निकल सपोर्ट मिस्टर बद्री खनालज्यूलाई पनि। थ्याङ्क यू बद्रीजी। अब हामी अगाडि बढौँ। फेसबुक लाइभ हेरेर बसिराख्नुभएका सम्पूर्ण महानुभावहरूलाई मेरो एकमुष्ट नमस्कार र आशा छ, विश्वास छ आज हजुरहरूले पनि धेरै सिक्नुहुनेछ, हामीले पनि धेरै सिक्नेछौँ। प्लिज एक्टिभली पार्टिसिपेट बाई पुटिङ योर क्वेसन्स एन्ड कमेन्ट्स। जिज्ञासाहरू, प्रश्नहरू फेसबुक लाइभ कमेन्ट बक्समा राख्नुहोला। हामीले प्रोग्रामको एन्डमा Q&A सेसन राखेका छौँ, पक्कै पनि एन्सर उपलब्ध गराउनेछौँ। हजुरहरूको क्वेसन प्यानलिस्टलाई पनि हुनसक्छ, मोडरेटरलाई पनि हुनसक्छ, चिफ गेस्टलाई पनि हुनसक्छ। क्वेसन चाहिँ पक्कै सोध्नुहोला। अब म यी नेप्लिजलाई धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। उहाँहरूले हामीलाई यो प्लेटफर्म उपलब्ध गराएर हाम्रो कार्यक्रमहरू सञ्चालन गर्नको लागि पोसिबल बनाउनु भएको छ, त्यसको लागि मुरी धन्यवाद। अब अगाडि बढ्न अगाडि म सानो आउटलाइन दिन चाहन्छु र आउटलाइनको अगाडि एउटा कुरा सेयर गर्न चाहन्छु। आजको कार्यक्रम स्ट्रिक्टली नेपालीमा पनि हुँदैन र स्ट्रिक्टली इङ्ग्लिसमा पनि हुँदैन। हामीले हाम्रा प्यानलिस्टहरूलाई आफ्नो अभिव्यक्तिहरू, आफ्नो एक्सप्रेसनहरू गर्नको अथेन्टिकली गर्नको लागि हामीले उहाँहरूलाई इङ्ग्लिसमा कम्फर्टेबल भए इङ्ग्लिसमा, नेपालीमा कम्फर्टेबल हुन सके नेपालीमा मिक्स गर्नु भए पनि हुन्छ भनेर भनेका छौँ। त्यसैले आज नेपाली र इङ्ग्लिस दुइटै मिक्स गरेर कार्यक्रम हुनेछ, चर्चा डिस्कसन हुनेछ। अब आजको प्रोग्रामको आउटलाइन: introduction of chief guest, introduction of moderators, introduction of panelists म गर्नेछु र I will hand over the Zoom microphone to our very capable hands, our expert moderators that we have, and then they will continue with the panel discussion, facilitate, moderate, summarize the discussion, and then we will have our chief guest उहाँको मन्तव्य दिनुहुन्छ, उहाँको समरी दिनुहुन्छ र त्यसपछि क्वेसन एन्सर सेसन हुनेछ र मैले हजुरहरूलाई अब हेल्थ एन्ड वेलनेसबाट मेमा के हुँदैछ त त्यसको बारेमा अपडेट दिनेछु र हामी बिदा हुनेछौँ। अब आउनुहोस् इन्ट्रोडक्सनको तर्फ लागौँ। भारती देवकोटा, हाम्रो chief guest. Bharati Devkota ji is a licensed clinical professional counselor in the state of Maryland with many years of experience working in Nepal and the US. Currently, she works at Sinai Hospital of Baltimore as outpatient mental health therapist. She is providing her private practice in counseling and homeopathic medicine at Holistic Counseling LLC in Baltimore. She's also a homeopathic doctor and currently nationally certified homeopathic practitioner in the US. In the field of counseling psychology, Bharati has received a Diversity Award in Maryland for providing service to various populations in Maryland by Maryland Counseling Association. She was also recognized for her continuous volunteer service by the Pro Bono Counseling Project Maryland. She treats conditions of anxiety, depression, trauma, stress-related health conditions, and patients suffering from chronic health conditions. She has worked with Bhutanese refugee population in Baltimore on issues related to migration, stress management, acculturation, and suicide prevention. Bharati completed her MPhil clinical psychology from Institute of Medicine in Nepal and Certificate of Advanced Study in Counseling Psychology from Loyola University, Maryland. She provides therapy in English, Nepali, and Hindi. We are fortunate to have you, Bharati ji. Thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedule to be with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
अब म इन्ट्रोड्युस गर्न जाँदैछु Dr. Manaswi Sangrola को. Dr. Manaswi Sangrola, she works in mental health research in New York City. Her work focuses on public mental health and health equity. She has an MPH and PhD in public health. In her free time, she enjoys yoga, traveling, and spending time in nature. Thank you, Manaswi. I know your time is very busy too in New York there, so we're glad that we got you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Now, I would like to introduce Chittis, our other moderator. Chittis is currently a clinical scientist working in cardiovascular research trials. She received her BS in neuroscience and psychology from George Mason University. The reason we sort of picked Chittis to be the moderator is that she has been active in an active mental health advocate in the community. She has held programs like Shike Hike and stress management and art programs to the mental health awareness, to bring out mental health awareness in the community. In her free time, she enjoys cooking, dancing, and painting. Thank you, Chittis.
Thank you.
Abba, Badiji, if you could bring the panelists forward one at a time. I want to give short introduction of the panelists. Who do we have? We have Suprava Dungana. She's 17 years old. She's in 11th grade at Centerville High School, and she wants to be a medical doctor. Suprava, thank you for agreeing to participate today.
Thank you.
And I have Ayusha. Ayusha Kanal is 20 years old. She goes to UVA. She's in the second year, and she's doing a double major in public policy and global environmental studies. Thank you, Ayesha.
Thank you.
We have Kavita Subedi next as our panelist. Kavita is 22 years old. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from George Mason University, and she's a practicing registered nurse. She wants to become a nurse practitioner in psychiatry. Thank you, Kavita.
Thank you.
And then we have Saugat Parajudi. He's 15 years old. He's 10th grade at St. Ely High School, and he wants to pursue business in future. So there we have all the chief guests, the moderators, and the panelists. Welcome to all of you from NACC and from myself, and thank you again. Now, Jilana Gorigona, I want to hand over my Zoom microphone to Dr. Sangrola, and then her and Shitties, Manaswi and Shitties can toggle together and do their thing, and we'll sit back and watch. I'll be back later. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks so much, Kalpananti. Okay, so to get started first, before we turn to the panelists, we'll talk a little bit about what stress is. Stress Banigokyu. So stress is a normal human reaction, and it can happen to everyone, no matter the age, young or old. And the human body is designed to experience stress and also to react to it. And so many different types of situations or life events can cause stress. It can sometimes be triggered when we experience anything new, anything unexpected, if we feel like there's something threatening as well, or sometimes when we feel like we don't have control over the situation. And our body all responds in really different ways. And each of us deal with stress in a different way. So today from our panelists, we'll hear a little bit more about how people deal with stress differently and how they deal with stress. Chiti's, over to you.
Thank you, Manasvi. So stress response helps our body adjust to new situation. So even stress जतिखेर पनि negative मात्र पनि हुँदैन, कहिलेकाहीँ positive पनि हुन्छ, and it helps us keep alert, motivated, or be ready to avoid danger. Or for example, हाम्रो students life मा, for example, if you have important test coming up, a stress response might help your body harder and stay awake longer, so you can focus on that. But stress becomes a problem when stressor continued without relief or a period of relaxation. So, and we brought this topic because topic like this often avoided in our communities. So we're doing this program to bring awareness to our communities. And until we are aware of the problem, we won't know how to get help or find solutions. So hope this program helps anyone that's in need. Now we're gonna go to our panelists. We're gonna go over some questions with them. Our first questions to our panelists is, what do you think stress is? And what are the causes of stress in youth nowadays? Suprava, you wanna go?
For me personally, stress is when something or many things can like overtake my brain and overwhelm me to the point where it's like the only thing I can think about, and it's also my body's reaction to like pressures that have been placed on me. Like I'm 17, so I'm going to be senior soon. Ani college annual, so I have to choose what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's a lot of pressure, and that's also like a common like cause of stress in people my age. And also just school, big assignments, final exams. It's late April now, so I have a lot of exams coming up, and I know that's been really stressful as well. And yeah.
Does anybody else want to add? Ayesha, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I share the same experiences. Mero lagi the stress is like when I have a lot of things going through my head, so I can't focus on one thing because I'm overwhelmed by everything that I have going on, whether that's a test, an exam, maybe, you know, I'm struggling with my health or sleep. There's just so many things that impact my stress levels, and school plays a big role, especially being in college.
So, God, do you have anything to add?
So I think the main causes of stress in the youth are related to school most of the time, like when we have a lot of homework assignments, projects, and other stuff, and we also have to balance that with our daily life with friends and family.
Yeah, definitely. And Kavita, do you have anything to add?
So I think stress, they're just outside factors or elements that can either positively or negatively impact someone's life. There's a lot of different life stressors, so it's important to identify them so that we can cope with them as well. And then in terms of stress in the youth, I think that varies from person to person. So something that can cause stress for one person can cause happiness for another person. So it's important to identify them. I think some themes of stress in the youth that I've seen in my career as a nurse, but also in my personal life when I was younger are homework, assignment stress, peer pressure, family pressure, and then social media as well. That's a big one. So I think those are important things to identify.
Yeah, definitely. Super valid भनेको जस्तै अघि म पनि त्यतिखेर त्यो पोइन्टमा हुँदाखेरि I used to think about it a lot because that was a very important decision in my life. College गएर कुन चाहिँ कलेज जाने or कुन चाहिँ major लिने and what if my major goes wrong. Now that I can definitely relate to it. Manusi, you want to go for the second question?
Sure. So I think panelistहरूले अलिअलि second question को बारेमा पनि answer गर्नुभयो stressको causeहरू के हो भनेर हैन. But just a few different things I wanted to pick up on that a lot of you mentioned that homework and school stuff is really stressful. And outside of school, you also talked about, friends or family, social media. I was, wanting to ask you, what are some of, do you think, the biggest stressors in your life of all the things that you all have brought up already? Maybe I'll pass it back to Suparva to start.
Right now, I think the biggest stressor for me is definitely school because I'm at that point in my life where I'm transitioning from school to college and I have to focus on my college applications and what I want to do for the rest of my life. But also besides school, I think that just having a balance with what I like to do and what I have to do has been really overwhelming for me because it's really difficult to find a balance between all the things I have to do.
Yeah, that is really difficult, balancing what you have to do and what you want to do. Ayusha, do you want to talk a little bit more about that point?
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I feel like there will be one class that I'm really interested in, so I'll spend a lot of time focusing or studying on that. And then I'll realize, oh, I only have so many hours in the day. I only have 3 more hours to do homework for 7 other classes. I don't take 7 classes, actually. I take, a little bit less than that. But, it's still a lot. And I realize that time management is a big thing that goes into what causes stress for me. That's something that I need to practice, having better management of my time, because sometimes I do too much on one thing, and that leaves little time for me to do all of the other things that's important to me.
Yeah, thanks, Ayusha, and thanks for bringing that up. I think time management is really difficult. Does anyone else have trouble with time management, and is that a source of stress for anyone else on the panel?
For sure, for me too. When I have multiple assignments and tests throughout the week, I need to find a way to make ample time to study and prepare for all of them. And it's kind of challenging because I have to juggle all my work and finish it in an efficient manner.
Yeah, absolutely. Kavita, anything else you want to add to that?
I agree with everybody. I also think procrastination goes hand in hand with that. It's easy to just I've noticed from other people as well when I was in school, it was easy for people to just say, oh, I'll do this later. I'll do this later. So it's important to time manage and figure out what's best works for you so that you can, have the least amount of stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Time management and procrastination. हाम्रो प्यानलिस्टहरूले चाहिँ टाइम म्यानेजमेन्ट र प्रोक्रास्टिनेसनहरू ले चाहिँ स्ट्रेस धेरै कज गर्छ भनेर भन्नुभयो अनि school life balance and then balancing what you have to do, balancing the things you want to do अनि त्यसको time management गर्न पनि एकदमै गाह्रो हुन्छ अनि त्यसले पनि एकदमै stressful हुन्छ भनेर भन्नुभयो panelistले Chiti's, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, definitely. I relate to it. अहिले म काम गर्छु and time management. So I know it haunts me every time too. And I try to do things to manage well, but कहिलेकाहीँ हुन्छ नि यो भन्दा यो गर्छु भनेर भने चाहिँ procrastination just हुन्छ नि and somehow it happens even though I'm trying to work on it. So definitely can relate to that. So let's say time management garda or something else that causes stress. How do you all know? Do you all notice that you are stressed, or do you all notice that it has been affecting you? So God, do you want to go first?
I can definitely tell when I'm stressed because I usually feel like way too tired and unmotivated to do different things. Like sometimes I won't want to play with my friends, or like I won't want to complete my homework and stuff. And I can also tell because sometimes my head will start to hurt. There's different things that happen.
Yeah, definitely. Mirror situation must say when I ever have that stressful moment, my stomach starts to hurt, and I know like I've been stressing on it. So it gives that physical signal to any bodily, definitely. And Superval or any other panelists want to add anything?
For me, when I'm stressed, I usually have a hard time relaxing because I focus on the thing that is bringing me stress and I can't like quiet up my mind. And sometimes I also can't sleep because I'm stressed about whatever it is that I have to do.
That's a good point. Sleep, definitely. Keep assignment late boy or keep when it keeps you awake all at night, and I keep thinking about it. Kasari गर्ने के गर्ने भनेर, and definitely can relate. Kavita, do you relate it to and during your work career or anything like that?
Definitely. I mean, when I say dinner, I don't get hungry. I have loss of appetite. And I notice physically that things start to change. I mean, because stress it's all related, emotional, physical, mental, all of the things are related. So in order to be healthy, it's really important to be able to manage your mental health. So that's something that's really important.
Yeah, and I heard you were doing double major. So do you relate to this? Do you get that signal? I'm sure crunching all the time and two subjects can definitely be difficult. So do you relate to that?
Yes, definitely. A lot of the time, sometimes I don't realize I'm stressed. So my friends or sometimes my family will notice and they'll say, hey, Yusha, you should maybe step away from your work for a little bit and then focus on something that will bring you a bit more peace. Maybe do 5 minutes of yoga, maybe take a walk outside with nature. Yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah, I need to start doing that too, definitely. Panashri, you want to add anything to it, or you want to go to the second, third, fourth question or something like that? I'm sorry, I lost track.
Thanks, Chiti's. Yeah, I think that's all really good points. And it sounds like some of you, you know you're stressed out from your physical symptoms, maybe by changes in your behavior. It sounds like some of you also have your friends help you to figure out when you are stressed, and that could be a good way to manage stress too. So clearly, you all have many things that you're doing. So I want to ask you all what you do to prevent stress from happening. So this is before you're stressed out. What are the things that you try to do in your daily life to prevent stress? So not after you're stressed, but what do you do before stress to prevent it? And maybe I'll start with Sogat.
To prevent stress, I like to spend time doing things that I enjoy, like playing basketball or other games with my friends. I mean, this helps me to get oxygen outside and do other things besides focusing on like all schoolwork.
Yeah, so doing things outside, doing things other than schoolwork, I think switching up your routine, I think that's a really great idea. Does anyone else try to do other things beside their schoolwork daily to try to prevent stress?
Yeah, for me, I like to make sure that I'm hanging out with my friends and calling my parents back home, because having those relationships are really important. So when you are in moments of stress, you can reach out to them and say, "Hi, I'm stressed." Like it's nice to have that support system. So making sure that you maintain those relationships beforehand is great in the long term. And other than that, Mati, I like to schedule everything and plan my week, so I know, okay, so this is a really big day for me, so today I should prepare just so tomorrow I'm not as stressed as I could be.
Yeah, that's a great idea, to schedule things in advance so that you know when you have big stressful days coming up so you can prepare for them. I also like what you said about trying to maintain connections with old friends and also with new friends. And before you get stressed out, making sure that you have people that you can turn to. I think that's a really great idea. So Kavita, what about you? What do you do to try to prevent stress from happening?
I think communication is a big thing. That's the number one. Just making sure, if you know that you're starting to get ready to be stressed, or you can feel those physical things happening, just making sure to communicate with whoever's closest in your life, whoever that may be. And even if they don't understand, you can just communicate so that you feel better and you're not bottling things up, because that's never good.
So you're saying that even when you're stressed out just a little bit, to kind of start communicating with friends or family or whoever that you trust about the stress.
Exactly. Being able to confide in somebody and just have that outlet is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Having different outlets, whether it's sports, like Sogat said, or different connections and friends. What about you, Shuprava? What do you do to prevent stress?
For me, usually I like to talk to my friends, FaceTime them, and try to distract my brain. Or I listen to my favorite songs or watch my favorite shows and just try to engage in something that I love to do. And I also try to maintain a normal routine so that I can create like a balance and not stress myself out.
Yeah, I think creating a normal routine that you can follow. And then I think distraction for me is helpful too, especially when I feel like I'm about to get stressed, doing other things I like TV or, different things on the internet could also be really helpful. So it seems like everyone has different ways that they prevent stress. Thanks everyone for sharing that. Chiti, is anything else that you want to add to that?
Yeah, agree with everyone. म चाहिँ के गर्छु भने मेरो चाहिँ अब टाइम म्यानेजमेन्टको गर्नलाई चाहिँ काममा चाहिँ मेरो क्यालेन्डर हुन्छ क्यालेन्डर चाहिँ I'm a very visual person, so I color code everything, and I know if there is something in red, I know it needs to be addressed right away, होइन. अनि पछि यदि काम डन भइसक्यो भने चाहिँ check mark गर्ने or black color गर्ने, like something like that. So when I see something is in red for this week, I try to get to that right away. I try to prioritize, and so that I don't crunch for the deadline or something like that. So that has definitely helped me stress भएको बेलामा. And like Kavita said, it's so much helpful to have a person who will listen to you, even if they don't understand your situation or something like that. Just to share, just to have that outlet is, and like I think everyone should have that. But if not, then maybe get a professional help or something like that. That might be a better idea too. So definitely agree with everyone here. So हामीले चाहिँ अघि अब प्रिभेन्ट गर्नेको टपिक थियो होइन. अहिले चाहिँ अब what do you do when you are stressed out? अब यो पोइन्ट चाहिँ अघि प्रिभेन्सनको थियो, अहिले चाहिँ हामी त्यो पोइन्टमा पुगिसक्यौँ र त्यो गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ what do you do त्यो पोइन्टमा हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ. Kavita, do you want to go first?
Yeah, definitely. So I think for me, when I'm stressed out, I like to journal. I know previously I said communication is a big thing. Sometimes it's hard for me to verbally communicate. So whatever I have in my head, I just write down. And that's just like a different outlet so that I can get everything out, and kind of just like remove all of the stressors. So I think that, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right. Journal is a great idea. I do that sometimes too. Superva, how do you deal with it when you're stressed out?
Normally, when I'm stressed out, I like to take breaks and stop whatever I'm doing and just relax. I love to read, so I usually like pick up my favorite book or watch a movie that I know I enjoy. And sometimes I also like to take my friend and we go out penny boarding. It's kind of like skateboarding, and it's just a fun time and it helps me distract my mind.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to step out and um, distract your mind. Saugat, how do you deal with it when you're stressed?
So when I'm stressed, I like to do breathing techniques and shortly meditate if I do have time. I learned this through Jivan Vigyan, which is an organization which is focused on helping better ourselves. And breathing really helps to calm myself and reduce my stress.
Yeah, I've heard very good reviews about that program. I've always wanted to join, but haven't had the chance to. Ayusha, how do you deal with the situation when you're stressed out?
कहिलेकाहीँ अलिकति स्ट्रेस त राम्रो हुन सक्छ किनभने it can help you, really get that exam, paper, whatever. It can help you get that done. तर धेरै stress हो भने I like going outside. If the sun is out, if it's warm, I think I like going outside because I think we are inside too much, staring at our computers, especially if you're a student or if you're working from home. You're constantly staring at your screen, and a lot of eye strain is created, at least for me. So kind of stepping away from like everything indoors and just breathing in fresh air helps me become less stressed.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. म चाहिँ घरबाट काम गरेको हुन्छ मेजोरिटी अफ द टाइम एन्ड घरबाट मात्र हुँदाखेरि जस्ट एउटा टाइपको मात्र इन्भाइरोमेन्ट हुँदाखेरि आई गेट स्ट्रेस आउट फर नो रिजन समटाइम्स एन्ड to help me with that, म चाहिँ कहिलेकाहीँ morning walk जान्छु early in the morning where the sun is just rising, and during that time like बाहिरको ट्राफिकहरू सुन्नेको हुँदैन, like all these materialistic कुराहरू हुँदैन, त्यतिखेर चाहिँ just nature हुन्छ, and then I love to connect to nature at that time. Sunrise भएको, and then बाटोमा कहिलेकाहीँ like deersहरू bunniesहरू देखेको हुन्छ, and it's really pretty. It calms you down so well. So that is what I do. And Manashri, do you have a technique too to calm you down?
Yeah, I think thanks to these, I do some of these things too, but कहिलेकाहीँ stressed हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ helpful कुरा गर्न पनि अलिकति गाह्रो हुन्छ. So sometimes when I'm stressed out, I will avoid my work, the work that I'm supposed to get done. I'll watch TV instead, or I will do everything except the thing that will help me. So instead of completing my work, I'll find excuses to go outside or cook. But all of these things that is supposed to lower my stress but sometimes doesn't, because I'm avoiding what I'm supposed to be doing. So I was wondering if anyone actually feels similarly, and if any of you have experienced some of those cyclical effects that can happen with stress that can be negative and hard to get out of.
I can definitely relate to that, by the way. Whenever I have that stressful moment and I like to avoid things, I love to cook, and I just would like cook and eat something and just avoid that, not completely think about it. And when I कहिलेकाहीँ stress हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ I'm craving like junk foods or something like that, and I will go and crave all that and have that for some time. So I can definitely relate.
Yeah, me too. I like to eat junk food too when I'm stressed. Ayusha, what about you? I saw you unmute.
Oh, I was going to say similar things. Just that when I'm stressed, sometimes I like avoid like the thing that makes me stressed, like you said. And sometimes I just don't do the coping mechanisms that I previously described. Sometimes I'm so stressed, I don't think I have time to go on a walk. I don't think I have time to do all of the things that would help me. Instead, I make it worse sometimes. And I think that's sometimes the reality, you know, we're not all going to remember, oh, I'm stressed. Now I must do yoga. Now I must breathe. Sometimes we don't think about that because it's not always natural for us to think that way. And so sometimes it is difficult to implement these strategies that we're talking about. And I think that's important to mention.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Aisha. I think it's easy to say what strategies are helpful, but it's hard to actually do it when you're stressed out. Kavita, what do you think?
I agree. I think what we talked about earlier, when we start to see physical changes, that's kind of like the tipping point of when we're already stressed and we're seeing these changes physically. So at that point, we can start to use the coping mechanisms. But I think it's important for us to try to figure out prior to that so that we can actually implement the coping mechanisms earlier so that it doesn't have to get to that point. So it's hard to find that kind of balance. And that's where you said it's easy to get into that cycle of, you know, procrastinating or holding off on things that we need to do instead of just, you know, figuring out those coping mechanisms.
Yeah, thank you. And Shuprava and Sogat, do you relate to any of that, of experiencing some of the negative coping mechanisms that can happen when you're stressed out?
I agree with Ayusha. I know when I get stressed, I tend to avoid everything else and just focus on the thing that is bringing me stress. And like by doing that, I waste my time and I just like get so hyper fixated on that one thing when I could have spent all that time doing multiple things and relieving myself of that stress. And I think it's like a never ending cycle that's really hard to break out of.
Yeah, it definitely is a hard cycle to really break out of. Sogat, what do you think?
So just like someone else said before, I really like eating junk food when I'm stressed, and I think that's like it's a really bad habit.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. I really like to eat junk food when I'm stressed, watch a lot of TV, scroll on my phone. And then sometimes I'll remember to go outside and do yoga and some of these other things. But I definitely have those stressful moments too, where I just need to eat junk food and scroll on my phone. Okay, so we're getting towards the end. So I know we've talked a lot about stress. तर panelist सबै panelistको लागि हाम्रो audienceको लागि केही suggestionहरू छ about preventing or reducing stress. So Ayusha, maybe let's start with you.
With preventing stress? Okay. I would say that, again, friends and family are really important support systems to have. So making sure that you have friends who will encourage you to be kind of a better person too, because some friends, they promote bad habits. Sometimes they promote you to hang out too much when they know that you're going to be really stressed. So maybe stepping away from those friendships and focusing on ones that make sure that that like I guess you're mentally doing well and physically. And then of course remembering what makes you happy and making sure that you spend enough time doing those things, because school isn't your entire life, work isn't your entire life. You know, make sure that you're spending at least some time doing things that you truly enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. So focusing on friendships that are really really helpful and really loving as well, and also taking time to do the things that you enjoy. Shuparva, what about you? What suggestions do you have for the audience about preventing or reducing stress?
I agree with what Ayesha said, but another like strategic way to prevent or reduce stress, I would say, is to like figure out where your major stress like source is and try to find a way to deal with that stress. Like for me, say school is my major like source of stress. I could plan out my week, organize my month, and see how my assignments and exams pan out so I can prepare and get a head start and prevent the stress that is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thinking really strategically about how you can manage stress ahead of time, I think that's a great idea. Kavita, what about you? Any tips?
I think for me, I would say just creating good habits in your life, just small things that can help you be more disciplined. So whether that be like making the bed or making sure to get like a good breakfast in before you go to school or whatever that may be, just creating that small sense of discipline will really help in the long term.
Okay, great. And what about you, Soba? Any tips you want to add?
I think a great way to reduce stress is definitely like going outside, just getting fresh air, maybe playing a sport or going on a walk really helps.
Okay, awesome. And Chithis, over to you for the last question.
I've agreed with all the panelists. By the way, I want to borrow Kalpananti, what Kalpananti said a few moments ago. She was saying how until we are aware of the problem, we won't know how to get help or find the solution. So to preventing and reducing stress, I think we need to figure out what triggers our stress first. And then whenever we are dealing with that topic or dealing with that thing, maybe find a friend who can help you or find a technique that can help you, or whatever it is that works for you, because it's different for every one of us. So for our next question, I know we've been talking about हाम्रो youthको कुराहरू in our own experience here. For our next question, what do you want to tell parents or grandparents what stress means for you? So I think for most of our families, our parents came from Nepal. They studied in Nepal and they knew systems from Nepal. And हामी चाहिँ यहाँ आएर school पढेर, college गएर, and all of that. I feel like our situation might be a little bit different than what happened in Nepal. किनभने नेपालमा हुँदाखेरि अब नेपाल नै बोलेर or नेपाली नै सिस्टम हुन्थ्यो, त्यस्तो हुँदैन यहाँ. अब इङ्ग्लिसमा बोल्नुपर्ने हुन्छ. यहाँको सिस्टम पहिला सुरुमा आउँदाखेरि कम्प्लिटली डिफरेन्ट हुन्थ्यो. At least मेरो एक्सपिरियन्समा चाहिँ त्यस्तो थियो. So what do you think? What do you want to tell parents and grandparents what stress means for you? That your generation, or you, in your experience, what do you think? Because it might be very different than what they went through. Ayusha, you want to go?
Yeah, of course. I would say that sometimes I may not be as stressed as my parents think I am. And sometimes them thinking I am stressed makes me more stressed, which is kind of funny. And also just realizing that sometimes the pressure that parents in general can put on their kids it can be a lot. It's important to realize that we are grateful for everything our parents have done for us, but we can only do so much, and we understand that we are expected to do great things, and we want to make you proud. We want to live up to all your expectations and exceed them. And we want to do that so bad that sometimes it can create this anxiety and stress in us. So it's important to keep that in mind when you say, oh, I want my kid to be a doctor. Think about it. Think about all the years of medical school. I see Manasvi Didi nodding her head. I'm sure she has a lot of experience with this. But it's a lot of pressure. And I guess it's important to realize that your child is doing the best they can. So try to support them instead of thinking they're not doing enough, because I promise you, they're trying their best.
Yeah, definitely I can relate to that. As a I guess normally साझा जस्तो लाग्छ इमिग्रेन्ट फ्यामिलीहरूको छोराछोरीहरूले गएर साइन्स or स्टेम फिल्डमा गऱ्यो भने बेटर हुने जस्तो त्यो माइन्ड सेट हुन्छ most of them, and it's definitely a good point. Kavita, you have any experience or you want to pass any message?
Yes, so I agree with you what you said earlier with that disconnect, because I know in my experience too, sometimes there's definitely different life stressors from when they were back home in Nepal to when we're growing up in America. So sometimes there's that disconnect of really understanding what each other's stressors are, and sometimes we can communicate that differently. So it's important just to empathize with each other, I think, and communicate exactly what that is, because I know that expectations can create a lot of problems. Sometimes our parents will want a specific situation for us, although it is with the best intention. Sometimes it still comes across as hard or things like that. So just being able to empathize is really important.
That is a very good point, being able to empathize, and it might go both ways too, because we have to understand where they are coming from too, and that is definitely a good point. Suprava, you want to add something to it?
I definitely agree with what Kavita said, and I also think it's important for our parents to recognize what our stress coping methods are, because I know when I'm stressed and I'm focused on something that is bringing me stress, I tend to be secluded and stay in my room and just focus on whatever it is, like a big assignment. And I know sometimes that can be really frustrating for my family. So yeah.
Completely understand. कहिले एक्लै बस्न मन लाग्यो भने parents they will probably get more worried. पहिला भन्दा पनि किन एक्लै बस्यो or किन बोलेन, त्यो I think a lot, most of the household हुन्छ यो कुरा. Soga, do you want to add something to that?
I think that it's really important for parents to know that stress can be displayed in like different ways. For some people, they might not look happy when they're stressed, but this doesn't mean that they're like mad or sad. It's just that they're overwhelmed with too many things to do again, and eventually they will be fine.
Yeah, we all deal with stress in different way. We all have our own different coping mechanism. अघि नै हामीले कुरा गरेको जस्तो म हिँड्न जान्थे or something like that, and कोही मान्छेले चाहिँ 15 minutes break लिन्छु भनेर भनेको थियो, कसैले चाहिँ journal लिन्छु भनेर. So we all have our different ways, and that is definitely a good topic, good thing. So Manasri, you want to add something to that? Do you have any message or something like that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, what everyone brought up, I think is very important. I think it's important for parents to recognize that every child, every, youth, young person, adolescent is trying their hardest, and they're juggling many different things, especially growing up with two cultures. So I think what you all have said and your experiences are really great to share. So thank you for that. So before we wrap things up, I want to thank Dhruba Singh Silwal. And we have two questions that have come in from the Facebook audience, or they can be combined actually to one question. how do I stop overthinking and stressing? What's the best cure for stress? So I think we talked about how there's no one cure for stress, but from that question, does anyone have any suggestions of, especially about how to stop overthinking and stressing out in that way?
I think for me, when I'm over stressed or something, I like to tell my body that it will be okay, and I will deal with it. Like, I'll be okay. So one way of for me to deal with it is I will do like spa days or something like that for myself, like put on mask and connect with my body, connect with myself, and let it know that it will be okay. That's how I deal with it. So after some time, when I connect with it, when I can breathe, overthink गरेर अनि किनभने जतिखेर पनि ओभरथिङ्क भन्दा पनि अलिकति तल कहिले अलिकति तल हुन्छ मास्कहरू लगाएर अलिकति रिल्याक्स भएपछि चाहिँ I'll realize that I'll get to things when I can and when I can breathe. And but until then, I'll take care of myself first. Then that's how I deal with that.
Yeah, thanks, Chidis. I like the idea of a spa day too. For me, for overthinking personally, if I have too many thoughts going on in my mind, I'll just take my phone out and write down all the things that I'm thinking, or sort of the overthinking. And sometimes for me, that's easier to do than getting out my journal and writing things down. So just doing it on my phone, I think that's really helpful for overthinking. What about any of the panelists? Any suggestions for how to stop overthinking? Or when you are overthinking, to manage that?
Yeah, I can go. So it depends what I'm overthinking about. If it's maybe a conversation I had with someone, I'll have to remember they probably forgot. In the nicest way possible, no one cares. I've kind of realized this the hard way. Whenever my friend says, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed about what happened," I'm like, "Oh, really? I forgot that even happened to you." And then I realized that's the same thing with me. Like, when I'm embarrassed about something, usually the other people, they don't even remember what happened. And that's really reassuring. If it's about school or work, one thing that helps is that one day, maybe in the near future, it will pass away. Maybe in 1 week, I'll forget that I even wrote a paper, or I'll forget that I even had to do whatever assignment. And that helps with my overthinking and stress. Yeah, and then also another thing is thinking about what we can and cannot control. So if I'm stressed or if I'm overthinking, I'll think, have I had enough water today? How many hours of sleep did I get? Did I eat enough sugar, or did I have enough vegetables? Simple things like that influence my stress levels a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, especially about eating healthy and seeing what can be helpful for your body, because stress is so related to your physical body too. But I also like that you brought up that if you're overthinking about an embarrassing situation or a conversation or something, the other person or the other people have probably forgotten and probably don't care. But Kavita, Sogat, and Shobarva, anything else you want to add about overthinking?
To kind of expand on what Aisha said, I think it's important to put things into perspective, because like she said, that conversation with a friend, they probably thought nothing of it. So like, say you're in school and you receive a bad test grade, think about all the other tests that you can take to make up for that one test grade.
Yeah, I like that. So putting things in perspective, thinking about what you can do, what you can control. What about Sogat and Kavita? Anything else you'd like to add about overthinking?
I definitely agree with that. To add on to your point of kind of creating a to-do list in my head of what needs to be done what I want to do, and then what other people want me to do. So different perspectives and points of view, so that you can kind of figure out, okay, what do I really need to do? And what are the things that are kind of just in my mind that don't need to be done right now? And you can clarify so that you can become less overwhelmed.
Yeah, that sounds really helpful. I'll have to try that myself. Sogat, anything else you want to add?
So when I'm overthinking, I just like to do one thing at a time, just do the main thing that's like making me stressed and then work on everything else after.
Yeah, taking it slow, doing one thing at a time, that can definitely help with overthinking as well. So it seems like everyone has different things that they like to do to really help with stress. I'm going to pass it to Chitis to wrap up and summarize.
Thank you, Manasvi. So we had a very good discussion today. We talked about what stress is. हाम्रो youthमा केले stress cause गर्छ. Some of us said college during that time it's pretty stressful, but we all have our own time, own situation that might cause the stress, or that might between our families, friends, and all that. And one of the important things I think we talked about is we need to figure out what is causing the stress, and then trying to see what helps us. So हामीले चाहिँ कसैले journal गर्छौँ, कसैले बाहिर हिँड्छौँ, कसैले चाहिँ we do something else to put our mind away from that topic, whatever is causing the stress, होइन? Just staying away from that topic that is triggering the stress, I guess, for some time until we calm down. And then after we calm down, maybe tackling that topic one by one, or going step by step, you know, so that it's not all at once. So it's not you're calm and thinking it through, I guess, in a way. So those were really good. And I really like the message to our parents and grandparents, letting them know that sometimes हामी कहिलेकाहीँ एक्लै बस्न चाह्यौँ भने पनि it's not because we don't want to talk to them or we don't like them. It's because we want to spend time with ourselves and deal with whatever is causing the stress and figure this out ourselves. So that was a really good message too. So after all of that, I think it's good time to wrap up this session and pass the mic to Kalpana Auntie for the next part of the program.
Thanks, Chitis. So before passing it to Kalpananti, I'm going to pass it to Bharati Devgota, who is a licensed mental health care professional with lots and lots of experience working with many different populations and youth too. So Bharati Didi, over to you.
Namaste, everyone. I'm really impressed by all the very thoughtful response and ideas, suggestions, being very aware. राम्रोसँग सबैजनाले कस्तो अवेर हुनुभएको छ कि स्ट्रेसले कति गाह्रो भइरहेछ हैन अनि plus I really like the message, especially like what are your message for your parents and grandparents भनेर अनि त्यो जानु भन्दा पहिला चाहिँ I would request to play a video which is very much related with that अनि I will build what I have to say about it.
Both of them left their families and knew no one and came to this foreign country.
Yeah, my mom moved to America and didn't get to see her family or her siblings for almost 20, 30 years. Didn't get to see her mom's funeral, didn't get to see her siblings grow up with their families because she was living in America.
My mom used to come to my elementary school every year with traditional dress and a Quran and a prayer rug to like teach the kids about Eid. 1 year after she came, a lot of kids made fun of sort of the way she dressed and what she was doing and what she was talking about. And I was really angry at her. And I told her like never to come back again because I was really embarrassed. And she listened, but I think she was really hurt.
I remember when I went to India in 2008 with my mom for a wedding, she said that was the first time she had ever visited the Taj Mahal, even though she grew up in India. And the reason was that she just spent her life working for us.
My dad, before he died, he was looking for all these jobs of things that he didn't love to do. And he loved playing music, but he knew that he had to make a little more money.
They took odd jobs. My dad worked at a restaurant, he cut grass. I remember stories that they used to look for aluminum cans to recycle from the neighborhood.
When I was in kindergarten, I remember that my mom, she sat me down and asked me, would you like it if I stayed home more so I could hang out with you? And I said yes. And so she gave up her career as a computer engineer to become a full-time mom.
My mom was encouraged to be a stay-at-home mom in her older years. She felt really isolated because it contributed to her not being able to learn English and make friends outside of the family circle.
I used to cry every time that my mom would drop me off. There's like a video of me at daycare, and I was like 3 years old, and I ran after her and they had to go get me. And my mom would cry too because she didn't want to leave me, but she had to work.
Even to this day, my parents are still struggling like financially. When I got into college, I got into UCLA and USC, UCLA being a public school, which was a lot cheaper than USC, a private school. And my dad just said, go wherever you want and we'll figure it out. My parents had to take out a lot of loans and stuff. I didn't get any scholarships or anything. We're still paying those off right now. Yeah.
Oh man, okay.
Oh, hi, Mom and Dad.
Mom, Dad.
Mom?
Thank you for all the little things that you did that I didn't know about.
Especially as a single mom, raising us all by herself.
And even to this day, working 6 days a week still.
I know I don't always say it, but I really appreciate everything you've done for me.
I'm sorry for the way I acted as a kid because I'm not ashamed of you. I'm really proud of you. And I'm really proud of who you are. And I'm really sorry that I used to pretend that I was white. I'm really sorry that I used to pretend that I wasn't Muslim, and
Thank you for everything. You did more than I ever deserved. Sorry.
I love you.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thank you.
All of the sacrifices they made, by the time I came along and like was aware of it, it's almost like they had already done all the groundwork so that I thought my life was easy. And that's...
Yes. So the purpose to show this video, हामीलाई लाग्छ कि अब जुन यहाँहरूले भन्नुभयो हैन, thank you भनेर, in a very similar way, I think यो भिडियो हामी फर्स्ट जेनेरेसन नेपाली आमा बुवाहरूले हेर्न पनि आवश्यक छ, किनभने दिस इज अ स्टोरी अफ हाम्रो कम्युनिटी पनि हो. त्यही भएर चाहिँ यो धेरै जस्तो फर्स्ट जेनेरेसन पेरेन्ट्सहरूलाई लाग्न सक्छ कि सायद मेरो बच्चा बच्चीलाई थाहा छैन मैले कति दुःख गरेछ भन्ने कुरा, तर दे आर भेरी मच अवेयर what the parents are doing भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ एकदमै अवेयर हुन्छन् हैन. त्यही भएर one of the most important thing यहाँहरूले धेरै कुराहरू कभर गर्नुभयो. एउटा फर्स्ट जेनेरेसन नेपाली कम्युनिटी चाहिँ मलाई लाग्छ जहाँसम्म 20 वर्ष धेरै यङ कम्युनिटी छ माइग्रेसनको हैन, डाइभर्सिटी भिजाहरू भएर यहाँ आउनु माइग्रेट हुनु भएको. सो वी आर अल्सो डुइङ इट फर द फर्स्ट टाइम। हामी सबैले यो कुरा के बुझ्नुपर्छ भने पेरेन्टिङ चाहिँ हामी पनि अब कसैको पनि बुक हुँदैन, प्लस हामी पनि यो जुन एउटा म एउटा आमाको हैसियतले पनि मैले यो आज यो प्रेजेन्ट गर्न अलिकति मलाई यो पोइन्ट भन्न मन लाग्यो। फर्स्ट त ह्याप्पी नेपाली मदर्स डे होइन। आज नेपाली सबैजनाको आमाको मुख हेर्ने दिन हो होइन। अनि के भन्न चाहन्छु भने नेपाली आमा हजुरआमा सबैलाई चाहिँ युथहरूको च्यालेन्ज एकदमै डिफ्रेन्ट छ। जस्तै अब एउटा नर्मल साइकोलोजिकल डेभलपमेन्टहरू भइरहेको हुन्छ, इमोसनल डेभलपमेन्टहरू भइरहेको हुन्छ, फिजिकल डेभलपमेन्ट, स्पिरिचुअल डेभलपमेन्ट, त्यहाँ धेरै कुराहरूको चाहिँ ब्यालेन्स गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। अब त्यस्तो मोमेन्टमा चाहिँ हामीले यहाँहरू सबैबाट के सुन्नमा आयो कि कम्युनिकेसन एउटा सबैभन्दा इम्पोर्टेन्ट कुरा हो। चाहिँ कम्युनिकेसनमा चाहिँ लिसनिङ होइन, लिसनिङ, रिफ्लेक्टिभ लिसनिङ, आमा बुवा भएर बच्चाहरूको कुरा चाहिँ सुनिदिनुपर्छ। अनि बच्चाहरूले चाहिँ डेफिनेटली पनि मेरो आमा बुवाले मेरो कुरा सुनिरहेको छ भन्ने चाहिँ एकदमै क्लियरली नै हुन्छ होइन। अनि अटोनोमी भन्छौँ, अटोनोमी भनेको चाहिँ बच्चाहरूलाई त्यसै खुल्ला छोडिदिने भन्न खोजे होइन, तर बच्चाहरूलाई बच्चाहरू बिचैमा पनि उनीहरूलाई कुनै कुनै निर्णय, उनीहरूको कुरा सुनिदिने, उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ एउटा सेपरेट इन्डिभिजुअल हो भन्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ हेर्न आमा बुवालाई निकै नै आवश्यक हुन्छ। अनि मोडलिङ भयो, मोडलिङ भनेको चाहिँ अब म पनि फर्स्ट जेनेरेसन भयो होइन। अब आई एम रेजिङ माई सेकेन्ड जेनेरेसन किड। अनि एउटा 1.5 जेनेरेसन भन्ने हुन्छ जुन चाहिँ अब सानो बच्चाहरू केही वर्ष चाहिँ नेपालमा बिताएर अनि फेरि बाँकी केही समय चाहिँ यहाँ आउने बच्चाहरूलाई 1.5 जेनेरेसन पनि भन्ने रहेछ होइन। त्यही भएर अनि देयर इज अ स्टिल डिफ्रेन्ट च्यालेन्जेस है, उहाँहरूको फेरि छुट्टै खालको एउटा च्यालेन्जेस हुन्छ। र अब मोडलिङको कुरा गर्नु पर्दाखेरि हामी आफूले कसरी कम्युनिकेट गरिरहेछौँ आफ्नो बच्चाहरूसँग त्यो निकै नै आवश्यक छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि पनि बच्चाहरूलाई अलिकति स्ट्रेस कम हुन्छ। बच्चा भन्नाले आई मिन टु से एडोलेसेन्ट र यङ एडल्टहरूमा चाहिँ अलिकति कम्युनिकेसन गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब जस्तै फ्यामिली डिनर टाइम एउटा रेगुलर कन्सिस्टेन्ट खालको गर्ने त्यो एकदमै आवश्यक छ होइन। अनि एक्सपेक्टेसनहरू पनि कहिलेकाहीँ डिफ्रेन्ट जेनेरेसन हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ वाट एम आई एक्सपेक्टेड टु डु भन्ने पनि एउटा कन्फ्युज जस्तो हुने रहेछ कि। त्यही भएर अलिकति एक्सपेक्टेसनहरू चाहिँ पेरेन्ट्सहरूले आफ्नो भ्याल्युज, आफ्नो एक्सपेक्टेसनहरू क्लियरली भनिदिने। किनभने क्लियरली भनेन भने आज हामीले धेरै सुन्यौँ कि यु रियली ह्याभ टु पर्फर्म एट अ भेरी हाई लेभल जहिले पनि होइन। त्यही भएर वाट एम आई एक्सपेक्टेड टु डु भन्ने खालको कुराहरू त्यो चाहिँ अब पेरेन्ट्सहरूले पनि बच्चाहरूलाई गर्नुपर्ने भयो र बच्चाहरूले पनि आफ्नो पेरेन्ट्सहरूलाई चाहिँ ओपनली भन्नु पर्यो, दिज आर माई लिमिटेसन, दिज आर माई बााउन्ड्रिज होइन। अब मैले कति गर्न सक्ने हो, के गर्न सक्ने हो भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ क्लियरली भन्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। र बेस्ड अन माई एक्सपिरियन्स वर्किङ विथ सेकेन्ड जेनेरेसन साउथ एसियन पपुलेसन, मैले मेजर challenges मैले फेस गरेको चाहिँ लट अफ च्यालेन्जेस विथ द सेल्फ इस्टिम, सेल्फ कन्सेप्ट होइन। त्यो एउटा मैले मेजर च्यालेन्जेस देखेँ। अनि अर्को चाहिँ जेन्डर रोल, जस्तै अब मेलहरूको छुट्टै रोल, फिमेलहरूको छुट्टै रोल, तर यहाँ युएसमा आइसकेपछि दे आर लाइक रियली भेरी इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट होइन। देयर इज नो द्याट डिस्क्रिमिनेसन छैन। तर इफ देयर आर कपल अफ जेनेरेसन लिभिङ इन द सेम हाउस होल्ड देन देयर विल बी अ डिफ्रेन्ट ट्रिटमेन्ट फर डिफ्रेन्ट किड्स होइन। अब त्यो हुँदाखेरि कहिलेकाहीँ अलिकति कन्फ्युज भएको पनि देखेका छौँ। र वान अफ द अनदर मेजर च्यालेन्जेस फ्रेन्डसिप, डेटिङ, यो सबै कुराहरू पनि एउटा समयसँगै यङ एडल्टहुडमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यो पनि एउटा मेजर च्यालेन्ज जस्तो भएको छ। त्यही भएर ओपन कुराकानी गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ देयर विल बी अ स्पेस फर देम टु सेयर, मैले चाहिँ यो यहाँ भन्न मिल्छ है, मेरो पेरेन्ट्ससँग कुरा गर्न मिल्छ है भन्ने खालको एउटा चाहिँ सिचुएसन क्रिएट हुनु पर्यो। अनि प्लस ल्याङ्ग्वेज पनि एउटा मेजर च्यालेन्ज देख्यौँ, किनभने कतिपयले बिस्तारै नेपाली बिस्तारै अलिअलि गुमाउँदै गएको पनि हुन्छ अनि त्यसले गर्दाखेरि आइ एम नट गुड इनफ नेपाली भन्ने खालको एउटा फिलिङ पनि कतिपय चाहिँ अथवा नट ओन्ली नेपाली भनौँ इन्डियन भनौँ अथवा अरू डिफ्रेन्ट कल्चरको लाइक ल्याङ्ग्वेजले पनि अलिकति प्रब्लम गरिराखेको त्यो चाहिँ हामीले मैले पायौँ र अनि अर्को चाहिँ फेथ पनि जस्तै फेथ इज अल्सो भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट त्यही भएर फेथमा पनि कतिपय चाहिँ एथनिसिटीलाई भन्दा पनि फेथसँग इन्क्लाइन भयो भने चाहिँ आई क्यान मोर कनेक्ट विथ माई कल्चर भन्ने खालको पनि एउटा च्यालेन्जेस देखा परेछ र यो सबै कुराहरू गर्दाखेरि वान अफ द मेजर थिङ टु एड्रेस स्ट्रेसको कुरा गर्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ बाइकल्चरलिजम भन्ने चाहिँ एडजस्टमेन्टलाई चाहिँ राम्रो मानिन्छ द्याट मिन्स यस टु बोथ कल्चर होइन यहाँको कल्चरलाई पनि यहाँको पनि बेस्ट एस्पेक्टहरू लिने नेपालको पनि बेस्ट एस्पेक्टहरू लिने तर सर्टेन एसिमिलेसनहरू के कस्तो किसिमको एडजस्टमेन्ट भइरहेको हुन्छ भने सेपरेसन भन्ने खालको पनि एउटा एडजस्टमेन्ट हुन्छ कि सेपरेसन भनेको चाहिँ जस्तै अब आफ्नो कल्चर मात्रै फलो गर्ने यहाँको चाहिँ टोटली फलो नगर्ने होइन यहाँको चाहिँ टोटली डिस्कार्ड गर्ने जब कि हाम्रो युथहरूलाई चाहिँ अब घरमा टाइम स्पेन्ड हुन्छ तर मेजोरिटी सोसियल वर्ल्ड आउटसाइड हुन्छ एन्ड इट्स भेरी डिफिकल्ट टु ब्यालेन्स द बोथ वर्ल्ड है त्यो पनि एउटा एस्पेक्ट हामी विचार गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ र प्लस एसिमिलेसन भनेको चाहिँ अर्को एउटा एडजस्टिङ कल्चर एडजस्टमेन्टको होइन जस्तै पोजिटिभ टुवर्ड्स न्यू कल्चर तर नेगेटिभ टुवर्ड्स नेपाली कल्चर भनौँ अथवा आफ्नो कल्चर जुन छ अनि त्यो पनि आफूले याद गर्नुपर्छ कि लाइक आर यु लाइक गोइङ टु द्याट एक्सट्रिम वेयर यु आर एक्सेप्टिङ ओन्ली कल्चर फ्रम हियर एन्ड यु आर टोटली डिस्कार्डिङ होइन त्यो पनि राम्रो एडजस्टमेन्ट भएन सो यु निड टु लाइक अर डिस्कार्डिङ बोथ द कल्चर पनि भनिन्छ एउटा मार्जिनलाइजेसन भनिन्छ सो देयर आर डिफ्रेन्ट टाइप अफ कल्चरल एडजस्टमेन्ट सो यु निड टु सी लाइक बाइकल्चरल एडजस्टमेन्ट इज रियली राम्रो मानिन्छ त्यही भएर अब मैले नेपाली आमा बुवाहरू हजुरआमाहरूसँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि राम्रो राम्रो पक्ष चाहिँ दुईटै कल्चरको राम्रो राम्रो पक्ष अपनाउँदाखेरि बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ अलिकति स्ट्रेस कोप गर्न सजिलो हुन्छ र वान अफ द मैले अलिकति आई वन्ट टेक मोर टाइम वान अफ द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेन्ट थिङ यहाँहरू सबैले भन्नुभयो सेल्फ केयर है सेल्फ केयर चाहिँ स्ट्रेस म्यानेजमेन्टको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै आवश्यक छ यु अल सेड लट अफ गुड पोइन्ट्स जर्नलिङ आई वाज सरप्राइज म्युजिक र डान्स चाहिँ त्यति आएन त्यही भएर सबैजना धेरै पढ्नतिर लाग्नुभयो कि जस्तो लाग्यो होइन त्यही भएर see that what are your interests है इभन म मम्मी बुवा हजुरआमा सबैलाई के रिक्वेस्ट गर्छु भने बच्चा बच्चीको म्युजिकको के इन्ट्रेस्ट छ उनीहरूलाई के मनपर्छ त अनि उनीहरूको कुन मुभी उनीहरूलाई कुन मुभी मनपर्छ कुन सिरिज मनपर्छ के तपाईँ बसेर हेर्न सक्नुहुन्छ वान सिरिज विथ यर किड होइन कुनै कुनै अब आफूलाई टोटली डिफ्रेन्ट कल्चरको पनि लाग्न सक्छ बट यु नेभर नो यु माइट इन्जोय त्यो याद गर्नु पर्यो अनि मर्निङ रिचुअल डेभलप गर्नु होइन वक जाने वान अफ द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेन्ट च्यालेन्जिङ कुरा चाहिँ सेइङ नो यदि त्यो चाहिँ अब मैले चाहिँ भन्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ मैले युथहरूलाई भन्न खोजेँ हो लर्न टु से नो इफ यु आर नट कम्फर्टेबल इट्स ओके टु से नो होइन हाम्रो कल्चरमा चाहिँ नाइ भन्नु हुँदैन भन्ने हामीलाई सिकाइएको हुन्छ होइन माफ गर्नु होला मम्मी बुवाहरू सबैजना मैले तर आई एम ट्राइङ टु टिच समथिङ हेल्दी होइन किनभने गर्न नसकेको बेलामा गर्न सकेन भनेर भन्न सक्नु भनेको चाहिँ एउटा उसले आफ्नो एउटा इच्छा व्यक्त गरेको पनि हो हामीले आफ्नो बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ हाम्रो दुईटा कल्चर छ जस्तै नेपाली कल्चर एकदम कलेक्टिभ कल्चर हो हाम्रो आफ्नै राम्रो पनि छ र यहाँ हामीले बच्चाहरूलाई ल्याएका छौँ र यहाँ चाहिँ एकदम इन्डिभिजुअल कल्चर छ त्यही भएर दुईटै कुरा सिकाउँदाखेरि कहिलेकाहीँ कन्फ्युजन हुनसक्छ त्यही भएर मेन कुरा चाहिँ हामीले बालबच्चालाई कसरी इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट बनाउने भनेर लाग्ने हो भने चाहिँ लर्न टु से नो अनि असर्टिभ कम्युनिकेसन भन्छौँ असर्टिभ कम्युनिकेसन भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ आफ्नो के पोइन्ट हो चाहिँ ओपनली राख्न सक्नु पर्यो अनि यो चाहिँ आफ्नो बुवा आमालाई पनि आफूलाई मनमा लागेको कुरा ओपनली भन्यो भन्दैमा त्यो डिसरेस्पेक्ट गरेको चाहिँ होइन उनले आफ्नो विचार राखेको हो विचार राखेको मान्ने नमान्ने चाहिँ आमा बुवाको काम हो हैन तर एकचोटि सोच्न चाहिँ दिनु कि मेरो बच्चा बच्चीले के राखेको छ यो कुरा हैन अनि उनीहरुलाई करियर चोइस गर्दाखेरि पनि बी सपोर्टिभ दैट विल रियली हेल्प हैन नत्र अब धेरै प्रेसर हुन्छ हामीले देखिहाल्यौं टाइम म्यानेजमेन्ट यो होमवर्क असाइनमेन्ट those were one of the major stress that we could hear right त्यही भएर see like where you can add little bit of a fun to your schedule है त्यसै म चाहिँ त्यसलाई encourage गर्छु check in with your emotions practice gratitude and every day morning ma think about 3 things that you are grateful for that's very helpful when you wake up in the morning त्यसले चाहिँ आफ्नो दिन नै चेन्ज गर्ने हुन्छ हैन अनि अघि एउटा ओभरथिंकिङ को कुरामा मैले I will end my input here. Agi overthinking ko एउटा question आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ what I will say is mindful response to thought. Okay? It can be anxiety, it can be depression, it can be stress. How can you respond to that thought mindfully? मैले भन्नु पर्दाखेरि चाहिँ apple भन्छु के एउटा apple लाई सम्झिने APPLE. One is A, acknowledge your thought. हैन It's okay to have that thought. P is take a pause. You don't need to react to that thought. Another P is a pull back. Pull back. And L is a let go of that thought. Sometimes you can let go of the thought. You can imagine a cloud passing over your head and explore how can I think differently. Like take a deep breath or go out for a walk or wash your face with a cold water. And त्यो moment ko thought, त्यो moment बाट चाहिँ बिस्तारै जान सक्छ. So I would say overall, these are like small insight that I wanted to add, but there's definitely a lot of challenge for our second generation to balance the both culture. So as a parents, हामी सबैजनाले चाहिँ त्यो कुरा recognize गर्नुपर्छ र we know we love our kids unconditionally. So if there are conditions, then you might have to little bit modify the condition and see how you can support your kids. So I would just like to say that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Bharati ji. एकदम इन्साइटफुल मलाई चाहिँ हजुरको बाइकल्चरिजम को बारेमा चाहिँ एकदम इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लाग्यो किनभने मैले चाहिँ कल्चरल ग्याप भन्ने सुनेको कल्चरल ग्याप साउन्ड्स नेगेटिभ कम्पेयर टु बाइकल्चरलिजम हैन कल्चरल ग्यापमा चाहिँ सेपरेसन देखिन्छ बाइकल्चरलिजममा चाहिँ टुगेदरनेस देखिने अनि अर्को एउटा कमेन्ट हजुरले भनेकैसँग म्याच हुने मैले यहाँ अडियन्सलाई कल्याण सबैको भन्नेले भन्नुभएको छ compassionate listening meeting your kids or youth with kindness with their challenges and meeting with sympathetic joy for their successes भन्ने लेख्नु भएको छ उहाँलाई acknowledge गर्नु पनि चाहे
Yes, absolutely that's very good point. Yes.
अनि panelistहरु I don't know what to say. I feel like we just wrote a book in a little video here in the Zoom program. Ekdam insightful. I learned a lot. I know others learned a lot from you. And your parents learned a lot from you, I'm sure. Thank you again so much. It's hard to take time out of your schedule when you have finals and all these things. Manaswi and Chitis, again, I want to thank you once more. यति भन्दै म फेसबुक लाइभको अडियन्सलाई हाम्रो NACC हेल्थ एन्ड वेलनेस प्रोग्रामको बारेमा नेक्स्ट के आउँदैछ भनेर जानकारी दिन चाहन्छु हाम्रो भोलि सन्डे ड्रमिङ सर्कल फर स्ट्रेस रिलिफ भन्ने छ NACC को बिल्डिङको आउटसाइड ग्राउन्डमा हामी 12-15 drums लिएर जान्छौँ. Everybody is welcome to come. We have about 15 people coming, but we can have more people. So if you're free, if you want to have fun, भोलि आउनु होला. It's for stress relief. So भारती जी हजुरलाई पनि स्वागत छ हजुरको टाइम छ भने अनि त्यसपछि मेमा चाहिँ दुईटा कुरा, एउटा मेन्टल हेल्थ अवेरनेस मन्थ मे हो, यो चाहिँ स्ट्रेस अवेरनेस मन्थ थियो, त्यसको लागि पनि हामीले प्रोग्राम प्लानिङ गर्दैछौँ। र अर्को चाहिँ स्ट्रोक प्रिभेन्सन मन्थ हो, अनि स्ट्रोक इज वान अफ द लिडिङ कजेस अफ डेथ, सो we're going to have couple of doctors talking about how to prevent stroke. Stroke भनेको के हो, कसरी prevent गर्ने, lifestyle, diet, exercise, त्यस्तो कुराहरू डक्टरले facilitate, moderate गर्नुहुन्छ, डक्टरले नै प्रेजेन्ट गर्नुहुन्छ।